Hello everyone, we're back for PSGL highlights. It's been a bit of a break from YouTube, and I'll get into the reasons for exactly why that happened later in the video. But we've been uploading consistently again, and our time slot allocation for uploading is going to be 4 PM UK time. Silverstone PSGL highlights have already been recorded, ready to be edited, and ready to be commentated as well. So that video will be uploaded during this weekend. Again, I'm not too sure if I'll upload it on the Saturday or Sunday, but it will be uploaded this weekend at 4 PM BST. With that being said, we are here in Q1 in Canada PSGL, and we've already had to compromise our lap before we've been starting. We're out of sync with the other drivers, so we're basically starting our lap as other people are ending, and we had quite a lot of pressure from the behind, to be honest, to make sure that we do not impede anyone and not to affect their lap, otherwise we would have got a slam dunk penalty. As a net result, we've had to start our lap with tyres that are significantly too cold, and you can see the result of that is massive understeer. Every single time we go towards an apex, the front tires are not biting into the asphalt as I would want, as I intend, and you're going to see another example of that as going through the chicane. We turn in at a pretty ideal point, we throw the car in, and the front tires are just not gripping, completely under temp, and it is not in a good way at all. Once again, in the hairpin, front tires not gripping, and that is going to be compromising our lap time potential massively. And I already knew that this would not be a lap time that was good enough to put us through to Q2. So now it's all about just rounding off the lap with the final chicane, and then just getting this first lap on the board, even if it's not going to be a lap that we find ideal, that we dreamed of going into the lap. And we are provisionally P16 at the end of the first run. Starting the second run here in qualifying, we did end up in a slightly better track position ahead of the crowd, so we are able to get a tyre temps in a bit of a better window, and we are going to be launching into the first chicane here at Canada. We've run to get this done, and this is going to be not the easiest track in the world to have those circumstances, that's for sure. Through turn 1, through turn 2, again, just a little bit of understeer. The front tyres are not working completely how I intended, but now going through the chicane, a small hesitation as we thought we was going to be getting a track limit warning. But even with that hesitation, we're going to be looking to be a 10th up purple in the sector 1. Much better grip on the turn-in. And this is going to be a very difficult situation to recover the lap time, because I'm having to adapt to the grip now on the fly, from a car that was so understeery on the previous lap to a car that is starting to work a bit better on the second lap. It's not always the easiest task in the world to adapt on the fly like this, and now you can see just the car turns a bit better as we're going through the hairpin. Lost a little bit on traction though, so now we are going to be a 10th up going into the final chicane, opening DRS, and we have to get this nailed now to go through. And this final chicane has so many opportunities to cut it, and it's really quite, to be honest, unrealistic in this situation. Going wide, we get a snap oversteer, hit the wall, and that is going to be compromising our straight line speed down to the start finish line. And we do provisionally P12, but that is going to be putting us out of qualifying. And yeah, I really wasn't happy with the lap, and I take that on my shoulder. It was not a lap that I am proud of, to be honest. It was a pretty miserable lap, and I like just to say how it is, and if my performance was not ideal and was not how I expect myself to be, then I say I don't make excuses. I didn't maximize the tire potential in the second lap, and yeah, that's on me. And ultimately we're out of Q1 because of that, and I take that on my shoulders. You can see me being pretty frustrated in that situation, but nevertheless we are now on the grid P16, and we have an opportunity to put the wrongs of qualifying ahead of us into the race and transform that into a really nice race result. I'm confident in our race pace, and it is going to be 5 lights and lights out, and away we go here in Canada. Getting a quite nice start, even better than the medium runner of Tom Manley, but having to brake quite early as Philippe Schneider up ahead is going extremely cautious for the first apexes of the lap, and that is meaning that we just cannot get onto the power. We cannot follow through. We could not really defend from Tom there, as now Tom has made up a few positions. Jack diving down the inside, who is on the soft compound tyres, so I really don't see a point in fighting him. So we let him go, and you can see instantly diving up the inside of Fleet Placenader. And now we are looking to try and maximize the exit. We could have made it 3 wide here. We thought about it, but definitely was not worth it on lap 1 of this race. With that being said, though, we do need to get a bit of a move on, and we are on the alternative strategy, starting on the hard compound, and we'll be swapping over to the medium compound tyres later in the race. Jack again making another move. So he's had a pretty good start, all things considered, to be fair. But now we're settling into our race and able to follow Philippe really closely. And I already had an indication on this first lap that we was able to follow Philippe extremely closely. And I know that my pace was feeling extremely good as well. Generally, especially in the race pace, I feel really good, especially on tyre wear, and that is where our strength can come in later in the race. So able to follow Philippe at 2 attempts, and you can see as well through the first set of corners, we're able to stay extremely close to him, closer to him than he is able to stay to the car ahead, indicating that we are able to carry more confidence and more pace through these apex as well, leaving a big gap to the white lines there, not really risking anything on the track limits, but again closing up quite considerably in the braking zone and able to follow underneath 1/10 on the exit of the corner, deploying a bit of battery, but Philippe uses his battery up ahead as well. So we need to start thinking about what we do here, because we cannot be stuck behind Philippe throughout this first part of the stint. We need to get a move on and try to follow those medium runners up ahead. Once again, able to follow Philippe much closer to him than he is able to follow the car ahead. So we're able to start using a battery, look down the inside, more just trying to unsettle his rhythm. He massively locks up the rear tyres, and now we are quite close to him on the exit of the hairpin. He's starting to lose touch with the cars ahead, and he's starting to fall back. So we're having to use our battery right now to ensure that we can stay in the DRS of the cars ahead. Philippe is fighting us quite heavily, and that's only going to be costing us more time to the leading pack up ahead. So everyone is entitled to defend, everyone's entitled to attack. But unfortunately now we are going to be out of the DRS of the cars ahead, so we have got a job and a half to catch the cars ahead while being on the harder compounded tyres, and Tom is on the mediums as well. Yoni Tormler was able to follow us through compared to Philippe as well, so that is going to be put us in a very vulnerable position. But we have actually been able to do the purple sector 1 here, indicating the pace that we have, and able to close half a second already to Tom Manley, and we're able to gap Yoni Tormler by 6 tenths as well. So even though we're on the harder compounded tyres, even though we have the disadvantage for what the tyres should be at the moment, we're able to show good pace and going into the hairpin. Unfortunately though, we've used a lot of our battery trying to get past Philippe, so it's going to leave us vulnerable, a bit wide on the hairpin. Big snapper wheel spin that I'm not even too sure why happened now. Maybe I got a bit of marbles on the tyre by going a little bit wide and caused a snap of oversteer. Even while using the battery, we were pretty much defenseless against Yoni Tormler, and yeah. Even the fact that we got past Philippe, we had to use all of our battery and then push like hell to catch up to Tom, and then Yoni, being the very smart driver that he is, was able to pick up the pieces and get past Philippe, and then get past myself with the battery press, and then was directly past his, well, behind his teammate, what leaves in a very, very strong position for the remainder of the race. Lap 14, we've been able to recharge all of our battery, been saving tyres massively during this time as well. Jake Benham up ahead with a 3-second penalty, and we're going to be following him extremely closely as we start to fall into the pit window. So now I can see that the Aston Martin leading the race has decided to fall into the pit lane, and this is really where I start to think about the strategy, start to talk to the engineers about the strategy and how we can adapt and overcome this situation and maximise our chance of a big points haul later in this race. So now currently P12 in the race, and we are going to be cutting onto lap 20. A lot of other cars have fallen into the pit lane, and we are all over the back of Yoni Tormler again, still holding a 4.5, almost 5 tenths advantage to Fleet Placenader, showing the pace that we still have in these tyres, even though we are on exactly the same compound as the cars behind. So now we're in a pretty strong position. I mean, saving pace, saving tyres, and ultimately saving the battery as well to be all over the back of Yoni and all over the back of Tom Manley. We're going to have some engineer interaction as we go on to this straight coming up now.
Is this really the best thing to box now?
So originally our engineers wanted us to box, well, for myself to box on this lap, and as you can see, I contested that, and I think it was the right call because pretty much every car ahead of us boxed straight away. So if we boxed on this lap, we would have been stuck in a trailer of cars and would have been very difficult to make our way forward while being on the same tyre life expectancy as well. So we extended onto lap 21, and now you can see in the DRS Yoni Tormala going onto the straight, and we think about going an extra lap.
Think is best,
and ultimately, this is all about trying to get a big points haul again. And what I was thinking and what I predicted to happen, that the front leading pack, who were on extremely old tyres and extremely worn tyres, especially towards the end of the race, will be battling quite hard and costing each other a lot of lap time. So although Daniel Bresnay, the race leader at the moment, is actually only 1 second behind us, that is not as bad as it might seem. The pit lane lost time is very small here in Canada, and it's only equivalent to something like 13 to 15 seconds, because you're able to effectively miss out the final chicane and miss out the first 2 corners as well, combined with a relatively short pit lane in terms of meters, and a relatively fast pit lane in terms of pit lane limiter time, speed I should say, allows us a really good opportunity to do this strategy of going super long, and then we're going to have absolutely fantastic, amazing tyres towards the end of the race to try and fight back. The win from this point would be very difficult, but with my prediction that a lot of the front runners will start to fight really hard, coming back with extremely fresh tyres puts us in a really great position of a top 6, top 7 ultimate finishing position. That is my plan, and that's ultimately what we're going to start unfolding now as we come into the pit lane. Remember how Philippe was directly behind us by only half a second as we was going into the pit lane as well, and that is going to be a really key reference for us, that how much we can gain or lose versus the cars around. So now we're going to be on the freshest tyres of the whole field, and we are going to have to unleash the pace that we have in the car. Starting lap 23, you can see Philippe up ahead, and we're able to just join ahead of Wilson coming out of the pit lane. So in what effectively was Philippe being half a second behind us, and now Philippe is half a second in front of us without the DRS as well. So we were only overtaking Yoni on the DRS straight before the pit lane, so he has only gained 1.8 seconds with an undercut, and he is not going to be in the DRS of the cars ahead, and this is going to leave us in an extremely strong position to fight later in the race. We get a big step of oversteer, touching the grass on the inside with cold tyres is the cause of that. So we're able to now pick up car after car after car, because they are not going to be in the DRS zone of each other, and you can see how far the leaders are ahead of us right now. They're going over the start finish line as we are basically opening the DRS on to the back straight, and keep reference of that, keep note of that, because that will become really important later on in the race, and you're going to see how rapidly we're able to close in the gap to the cars ahead while we're not even using the battery to its maximum deployment, saving that for later in the race. 1 second to Yoni Tormala ahead, who's on the soft compound tyres, and those tyres are going to be ultimately quite rapid at this time as well, being quite fresh into the stint. But you can see on our fresh mediums, we're having loads of confidence to push up to the white lines here on the track. Purple sector 1 closing into Yoni Tormala as a natural result of that. On to the little back straight here, 1.1 seconds, deploying battery, making sure that we can get in the DRS of Yoni Tormala up ahead, through the chicane, into the apexes, and that has been a very beautiful sequence of corners, and we are now going to be in the DRS of Yoni Tormala as we go purple, and we have done 2 purple sectors in a row. Beautiful rotation from the midpoint onwards of the apex. And ultimately lap 25, we have done the fastest lap already, and we are only going to be a 10th away from doing another fastest lap but that is a bit irrelevant considering we are all over the back of Bent and Joni Tormina already. And look where the leaders are on the mini-map. We're starting to already haul them in, even though we've been on these tyres a relatively short amount of time. Even more importantly to our race as well, you can see where the Alpine is going past the number 2 on the mini-map on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. We are really starting to close in to what will be a very solid points paying position, and while they're fighting, while they're losing time, we're closing in with a pretty much really high level of battery and an extremely high level of pace with our fresh medium compounder tyres. Joni Tormina only 4 tenths ahead on the exit of the corner, and this is going to be relatively easy for us to get past on this straight. Opening DRS, and we're going to try to not use battery on this straight. We're going to try and save all the battery we can, and we're just going to send it down the inside from behind Joni Tormina. And yeah, we're able to get the move done in the chicane, nice and cleanly, and that is really a nice overtake, and top respect to Joni as well for seeing us and leaving the really good racing. To be honest, Joni, as we know, around sim racing, has been here for what feels like forever, and is such a respected person in my eyes for sim racing. Anyway, getting back to our race though, and you can see we have closed down to Otis, who's 4.5 seconds now ahead with Istvan Pukki, as Otis was able to go past into P10. But look where the leaders are, and this is my prediction coming true. All the leaders are fighting, and now we are easily almost within the DRS train to them as we go into the final load of racing laps here. And you can see now on lap 29, we are only 3.8 seconds away from almost getting the points paying positions, and we are closing rapidly with a high battery level, but that is not going to matter. You can see there's been a massive crash up ahead. 3 cars have retired in the perfect chance for us to go into the pit lane. Freddie Rasmussen, Joni Tormina is going to be followed into the pit lane, I should say. But speaking about the people crashing, it's going to be Freddie Rasmussen, my teammate Thomas Ronhar, and Tamas as well. And that is meaning we're able to get into the pit lane. But unfortunately, the safety car was not able to pick up the leaders just in time, meaning that we're all going to be stuck to the same delta, and is going to be not giving us the ultimate advantage that we'd have been dreaming of. If the safety car came out 3 seconds earlier, it would have caught up Daniel Bresnay leading the race, and we would have been on fresh tyres, and everyone else would have been stuck behind the safety car, and we would have been in a fantastic position. But that is not the reality that faced us, and the reality that faced us is we all had to stick to the same delta time. What, in all fairness, is probably, well, not probably, definitely more fair in a racing context anyway. But no, speaking of not fairness, Daniel Bresnay, Jake Benham got unfortunately a glitch within the game, what has given them drive-through penalties. So you're going to see that highlighted later in the video, but for now it's a safety car restart, and we're a bit checkmate, to be honest. We don't really have that many opportunities to go forward, quite simply because Istvan Pukki has a 3-second time penalty and Jake Benham has a drive-through penalty. So even if I was to overtake these cars up ahead, I have to overtake 2 cars even before I can start getting to positions that actually give me a net gain. So I'm actually better off right now chilling, saving my battery, and trying to pick up scraps and overtaking opportunities later on in this race. You can see Otis diving up the inside of an Alpine up ahead. So yeah, this is a really strange situation to be in, to be honest. It's a safety car restart, but there's quite simply no reason for me to try and attack Istvan Pukki and Jake Benham right now. My best call of action, my best strategy in fact, would be to stay closer to Istvan, stay closer to Jake, and try to let them put pressure on the cars ahead and hope that they make mistakes to the cars ahead of them equally, rather than me trying to push Istvan Pukki and Jake into mistakes myself, quite simply as it will just hurt my total race time, allow the cars ahead to pull away even more, and that will just be a sub result being negative for my race in fact. So with that being said, you can see we're chilling, saving all of our battery as well for maybe a better opportunity as we go on later in the stint. Jarno is able to blast away from Daniel Bresnay, who's going to be in P2. You can see Daniel Bresnay is now being disqualified, and that promotes us up into P7 in this race, and with Istvan Pukki having a 3-second time penalty is going to be allowing us the opportunity to jump into P6 in this race as well. So this final lap is more about just rounding off, bringing it home. There's not going to really be a massive overtaking opportunity against Istvan Pukki while he keeps the DRS of the car ahead. So we're just chilling, bringing the car home. And as I talked about earlier, we're going to be bringing back consistent uploads. I had some injuries with my thighs in these last few weeks because of running. Well, basically meant the flexibility and the muscles were torn. And so I had a really big focus on getting my thighs back into a healthy functional situation, and now we are in a really good position. I'm back running, I'm really happy about that, and ultimately now my legs not torn and the muscles are in a good way. So with that being said, we're able to come across the line P6 because of Istvan's penalty, and ultimately just missing out on the fastest lap by 2 tenths as well, what would have been an extra point for us, but sadly that didn't happen. But yeah, we're back to consistent uploads. Silverstone PSGL will be uploaded this very weekend. And with that being said, let me know down in the comments what you thought about this comeback video with the track and coming back from what was P16 to P6 at the ultimate finishing result. The safety car didn't really gain our race, to be honest. We got 2 positions because of Jake and Danny, who ultimately got unfair disqualifications and drive-through penalties as a result. But apart from that, because of the delta time of the safety car, we was not able to gain really that much because of it. So it was a net neutral situation pretty much all over in terms of our race. But was able to come back to P6, and without the glitch from Danny and Jake, would have been P8 ultimately. So with P16 to P8 was really good, and we got fortunate getting 2 extra positions. So I'm happy with that. I've been Brendon Leigh. Catch you in the next video. Glad to was actually ciao ciao. Bye bye.